Hello, I tell you which sporting events you need to watch every week so you don't have to keep up with it. This is for the week of Thursday, March 19th through Wednesday, March 25th. Let's talk about it. As you may have guessed, this edition is going to be very March Madness heavy. And if you want some more in-depth March Madness coverage, wherever you are watching or listening to this, you can also find me filling out both my men's and women's brackets. I go into a little bit more in-depth analysis, talk about some historical facts, fun stuff like that. So check it out. And if you want this guide in newsletter form every Thursday morning, head on over to brandonsilvers.com. That is BRANDONSILVERS.com and subscribe to my free newsletter. All right, Thursday, March 19th. The men's tournament starts. First round coverage begins at 12:15 p.m. Eastern Time on CBS, TNT, True TV, and TBS. Make sure you're in front of a TV when 11-seed USF takes on 6-seed Louisville at 1:30 p.m. on CBS. USF is riding an 11-game winning streak into the tournament. Need something a little bit later. Viral sensation Robbie Avila and 9-seed St. Louis take on 8-seed Georgia at 9:45 p.m. Eastern Time on CBS. The Bulldogs are appearing in back-to-back NCAA tournaments for the first time since D.A. Lane was leading the way for them from 2000 to 2002. Friday, March 20th, women's tournament kicks off. First round coverage begins at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time on ESPN, ESPN2, ESPNU, and ESPN News. Make sure you watch the very first game of the tournament where my hometown, College of Charleston Cougars, the 14 seed, take on 3-seed Duke at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time on ESPN2. This is the Cougars' first tournament appearance since joining Division I in 1991. Then, the biggest potential upset of the day is 11-seed South Dakota State taking on 6-seed Washington at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN News. This is South Dakota State's fourth straight NCAA tournament appearance. They've pulled off a first-round upset in 2 of them so far. And, of course, there's more men's first-round coverage beginning at 12:15 Eastern Time on CBS, TNT, True TV, and TBS. 10-seed Santa Clara makes its first NCAA tournament appearance since Steve Nash was their starting point guard. They take on 7-seed Kentucky at 12:15 p.m. Eastern Time on CBS. Then make sure you stay up for 13-seed Cal Baptist taking on 4-seed Kansas at 9:45 p.m. Eastern Time on CBS. This one should be a close, low-scoring affair. Throw in the concern about how much Darren Peterson's going to play for Kansas, and we have upset potential. Saturday, March 21st, the women's first round continues at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time on ESPN, ESPN2, ESPNU, and ESPN News. 11-seed Fairfield is taking on 6-seed Notre Dame at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. Fairfield is 58-2 in conference play over the past 3 seasons. Then at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN2, 9-seed Syracuse plays 8-seed Iowa State. Nice bounce back year for the Orange as they nearly double their win total from last season. Then the men's tournament moves to the second round. Coverage begins at 12:10 p.m. Eastern Time on CBS, TNT, True TV, and TBS. Keep an eye out for a potential Nebraska-Vanderbilt matchup here. Each team won 25-plus games for the first time in forever. Double forever for Nebraska. They'll be fighting to keep their dream seasons alive, and they have opposing playing styles. Sunday, March 22nd, the women's tournament moves into second round coverage beginning at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time on ESPN, ESPN2, ESPNU, and, as you may have guessed, ESPN News. Check your local listings for the start time because they haven't confirmed anything yet. We could have a potential Baylor-Duke matchup today. If you like defense, you're going to love that. Duke staying alive is important for some Sweet 16 messiness. We will discuss that next week. Then the men's tournament finishes up its second round beginning at 12:10 p.m. Eastern Time on CBS, TNT, True TV, and TBS. This is the point where the first weekend's over and we have to come to terms with what our brackets look like. Thoughts and prayers. Monday, March 23rd, the women's tournament finishes up its second round. Coverage beginning tentatively at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time on ESPN, ESPN2, ESPNU, and ESPN News. We're either going to get a South Carolina Clemson or South Carolina Southern Cal matchup here, which is a great way to start off the work week. And if you can see my shirt, you know who I'll be pulling for. Tuesday, March 24th. Let's take a little bit of a breather, switch it up, talk about some sports history instead on this day. in 1976, Hall of Fame quarterback Peyton Manning was born. Some of my earliest college football memories were watching Peyton under center for the University of Tennessee. The Vols offense could do anything with him as their quarterback, except, much to the chagrin of my Oak Ridge native grandfather, beat Florida. In the NFL, he helped usher in a new era of offense with video game passing numbers. Then, when it seemed like it was over due to a neck injury, he resurfaced in Denver with even more eye-popping numbers. He got a semi-storybook ending, winning a Super Bowl while looking like a shell of himself. And of course, now he's transitioned to sports media mogul status with his company, Omaha Productions. It's wild to wrap my head around this being the same guy that I watched on Jefferson Pilot Sports. Okay, Wednesday, March 25th, NBA action. Atlanta Hawks at Detroit Pistons, 7 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. As of right this moment, right now, the Hawks are the hottest team in the NBA. I don't care what happens between now and this game, or even now and this being released. I just needed to get that on the record. We knew Nickeil Walker-Alexander was one of the better perimeter defenders in the league, but he's having his most explosive and efficient offensive season on the most volume he's ever had. That's hard to do. While we're talking about eye-popping stats, Jalen Johnson is averaging 23, 10, and 8. I mean, 20 and 10 isn't entirely surprising, but who had him as a fringe triple-double guy? If you give Quinn Snyder enough time, he's going to figure something out. Then a doubleheader, more NBA action as the Houston Rockets head to Minnesota to take on the Timberwolves at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. This one's very important as teams are jockeying for those 3 through 6 spots in the West. Stars Kevin Durant and Anthony Edwards developed a mentor-mentee relationship during the 2024 Olympics. Not sure how much of that was gameplay versus life advice, but I would very much like to hear their conversations about Durant's Twitter controversy. I'm off Twitter myself, so someone please confirm that he hasn't tweeted since another one of his burners leaked. All right, that will do it for this week. Enjoy the madness. Don't forget to check out me filling out my bracket so you can keep track of how wrong I end up being. And again, if you want this in newsletter form every Thursday morning, head over to brandonsilvers.com and subscribe. I will see you next Thursday.